You know, I should have grabbed my drink before I started hitting record, but oh well. You can look at the screen for 5 seconds. You can come out here, sweet kitty. Come here. You can come out. The door is literally open. I wasn't summoning you guys. I mean, I can bet you. I wasn't summoning you, though. I have the cat staring at me intently. I don't know why. You can come say hi? What did I say? Anyways, May, not March. May. I keep wanting to say March. May 6th, 2026. It's currently 9:30 p.m. Not that it really, or 9:20 p.m. Not that it really matters, but we're going to continue reading. Well, I am going to continue live reading and analyzing the Murderbot Diaries books. This is after the intermission where I read the 3 reviews that people who claim that there is no slavery apologism or any other kind of bigotry in this series whatsoever. I read off the reviews that 3 of those people have left on the Internet Archive where the transcripts for these can be found. If you are watching this on YouTube or wherever else I figure out how to upload it. Yeah, there's transcripts. You can download them all in any format you want. Needless to say, white supremacists are really mad about me criticizing this series for the slavery apologism that's in it, to the point that some of them are claiming there is no slavery in the series at all, and I am literally just hallucinating that. I'm not making that up. People are claiming that there is no slavery in this series at all, and that's just a hallucination. I'm not kidding. You can see them for yourself. And maybe they can edit them, I'm not sure, but I read off their exact words in the intermission that is before this in the playlist / on the list in general. But anyways, we are on book 2, in case, since all of the people who left those reviews were misgendering me, once again, I am non-binary, but I do not use they, them pronouns. Do not refer to me as they. That's not my pronoun. My pronouns are it, its, or skull, skulls. Wow, you might be thinking, wow, that's really convenient. That's what Murderbot uses, the it, its pronouns at least. And it's like, yeah, you think you'd have some goddamn practice from reading this series, but, well, you'd be wrong, because Martha Wells is purposefully courting other bigots like her. So it's in first-person perspective, so that Murderbot's pronouns are literally never used, unless it is literally being talked about like it's not in the room, which is just blatant dehumanization. Hold on, let me see what the text was. It's bullcrap, is what the text is. Hold on. You can just grab something from the store. Just grab regular sandwiches from the deli section or whatever. Okay, anyways, we are on book 2, and yeah, my pronouns, before I forget distracted. So nobody has an excuse to misgender me. My pronouns are it, its, and skull, skulls. You can use either one. They're both used the exact same way. The exact same way you would refer to Murderbot, except for the skull ones, you just say skull, or skulls, or skull self, instead of it. It's literally interchangeable. You can use one, or both, or interchange them, it doesn't matter. It's totally fine. Okay, anyways, we're on book 2 in case this is the first video you are watching. Usually I'm recording these on my phone so you can actually see me holding the physical book, but my phone is absolute garbage, and that is a million times more effort than this, even with how crappy my laptop is in comparison. This is still much, much easier than trying to do it with my phone. So we're just going to keep doing this for the foreseeable future. at least until I actually finish making all of these cat blankets for the rescue so that I don't have piles of yarn on the back of the couch. Anyways, we are 69% of the way through this ebook, which is pretty much just 70%. We are on, I think it'll tell me, I think I have to hit escape. Oh, what was that? Escape. Table of contents. We're on chapter 6 of 9. And nothing has happened yet. Just, like, nothing in the actual story of any substance has actually happened yet. A lot has happened analysis-wise and framing-wise, but not an actual lot has actually happened in the story that we're actually supposed to, think about in any way. So, let's continue. Also, the recording little icon for this is, like, partially blocking the first row of text in the top right corner, so I'll just, it's dark. It's supposed to be transparent, but it's not. They fucking changed it, so it's, like, opaque. But I will guess at what words are there. Also, if this is your first video watching, you can either continue watching and accept the confusion that you are accepting on purpose, or you can just click on the button that'll send you to the first one. Either on YouTube, just click the profile, or just copy and paste the title into the search bar and replace the number at the front with 01. Or, just be confused. Doesn't matter. Let's continue reading, shall we? In the corridor near the living quarters. I got it. Okay. The video before this, she had a tongue twister. Corridor near the living quarters. That's not quite a tongue twister, but considering the tongue twister, that's annoying. I found the other ready room. The one for the comfort units. Actually, yes, I will go back a page. Okay, no, I guess it's not back a page, but Martha Wells, like 2 pages before this, and for the record, my font size, I can actually check that. My font size is at 48 on Calibre, so this is not what the regular pages look like, but I'm actually sitting back on the couch and a cat is walking over. Are you going to unplug the computer? Nope, you're just gonna sit with me like a good kitty. Okay. Almost had an incident there. But Martha Wells was just making fun of corporations and shit for using cutesy euphemisms, and then completely unironically, she refers to the sex slaves as comfort units, and that is completely unironic. There's no irony here. There's no discussion of why euphemisms exist, especially euphemisms that downplay horrible things like this. I think the quote was, something, 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 this was a massacre, but the corporations used the euphemism of an incident or something like that. I'm not going to look it up, but, like, we say that. We pretend to criticize capitalism in that sense, but then immediately come over here and immediately start referring to sex slaves. They are literally sex slaves. And call them comfort units instead of acknowledging that they are suffering sexual slavery. Unironic. Not commentary. The ending theme of this book will literally be that it is that calling them the cutesy euphemism comfort unit instead of acknowledging that they are victims of sex slavery, that's good and wholesome. Instead of just more fucking violence by denying what they are going through. That's like saying to a victim of fucking domestic abuse, you weren't the victim of domestic abuse, you were the victim of family squabbles. A family, I'm trying to think of like silly synonyms for fight, and I'm just coming up with British slang for some reason. A family, that doesn't make sense. Like, what? Why am I thinking of British slang? I don't know. Instead of domestic abuse, you're not a victim at all. You just what even would you say the verb is of family differences of opinion instead of domestic abuse. Oh no, that wasn't child abuse. You were just you just had a difference of opinion with your family. You're not a victim of sex slavery. You are a comfort unit. Single-handedly dehumanizing you. You're not a person, you are a unit. You are an object. And also, you were not in sexual slavery, you were just comforting people. And this is completely unironic. After she just fucking pretended for 5 seconds to think corporations are bad and said, oh, they use a euphemism. They say this is an incident instead of a massacre. And then we're over here unironically referring to sex slaves as comfort units. And it's not, and again, it's not ironic. This is unironic. As anybody who's read the rest of the series and has already read this book can tell you. This isn't commentary. This isn't Murderbot is doing the exact same thing it criticized and we're supposed to have a problem with that. It's unironic. We're not supposed to question this. Literally, the ending theme of the end of this book will be that yes, you should call them comfort units instead of acknowledging anything else. Nothing else, while we also demonize them. But anyways, let's actually read, shall we? I found the other ready room, the one for the comfort units. Inside were 4 shapes that were clearly cubicles, but smaller. Their doors stood open, the plastic beds inside empty. In the corner there was a space for a recycler, but no weapons lockers, and the storage cabinets were all different. I stood in the center of the room. It teleported to the center of the room. Didn't even walk in. It's in the center of the room now. The cubicles for Murderbots had been closed, not in use, which meant none of the sec units had been damaged and all had either been out on patrol, on guard, or in the ready room, probably standing around pretending not to stare at each other. And that's another joke that's supposed to be funny. That whole pretending not to stare at each other, we're supposed to think that's hilarious. Hello, pretty kitty. But the cubicles for the sex bots were open, and again, Murderbot and Martha Wells has been referring to sex slaves in this series as sex bots derogatorily this whole time. More dehumanization and victim blaming, because all throughout book 1, they are referred to as sex bots as though that is a thing that they choose, and that the hatred for them is visceral within the fucking text. and yeah, it never stops. Literally just dehumanizing victims of sexual slavery and victim blaming them and demonizing them. But the cubicles for the sex bots, I literally cannot stand even saying that fucking word. Especially because these people are they're literally not even robots. And it would be bad enough if they were actual robots who were designed to be sex slaves, but they're literally not even robots. These are cyborgs. These are literally people who are mutilated at birth. And like I can't stress enough to you how bad enough it already is for robots to be enslaved in sexual slavery. But these are literally not even robots. These are cyborgs, and we are dehumanizing them and demonizing them. It's ridiculous. Well, no, we aren't doing that. We are not doing that. Martha Wells is. And then, as I've said multiple times, but in case for the people watching this first video, you're going to get spoilers. Not that you're not aware of that because you clicked on a video in the middle of a thing, but the whole concept of sexual slavery in this series, this is book 2. There are 13 stories in this series so far, and this is the last one that this is ever brought up in. And I'm pretty fucking sure that some person in the publishing company or somebody literally came up to Martha Wells and said, you cannot ever fucking talk about that shit ever again, because she handles it so fucking atrociously that it's just making everybody involved look abhorrent. So this shit will never come up ever again in the entire series, which has been running for 8 years and 13 published stories now. That's how badly she's handling it, that somebody clearly had to fucking tell her, you are not allowed to do that shit. Don't fucking bring that up again. Because she is fucking capable of handling it with any kind of fucking compassion or grace or maturity, anything at all. It's fucking abhorrent. But the cubicles for the sex bots were open, which meant they had been inside when the emergency occurred and the power shut off. If the power is off, you can manually open a cubicle from the inside, but it won't shut again. I can't even get a single goddamn page. Again, this is supposed to be a science fiction dystopia where nobody cares about safety because corporations are governments and countries in and of themselves, and they do whatever they want that makes them the most profit, and they don't care about safety. So, in this sci-fi dystopia where safety is not a concern, why in the goddamn hell would a power outage mean that the slaves who are put in their cubicles, which is, we've never gotten a proper fucking description for. It's a fucking, just imagine a goddamn sci-fi looking coffin. Why would a power outage mean that a slave who has been put into one of these things, why would they be able to get themselves out from the inside rather than somebody from the outside having to let them out? Because, this is slavery we are talking about, and a supposed dystopia we're supposed to be talking about. They could have been put in there for punishment. And you're telling me that the corporate overlords wanted to make sure that the slaves can let themselves out in case of danger? That is completely fucking nonsensical, along with all of the other completely goddamn nonsensical things going on in this entire goddamn farce of a plot. Alright, now we can scroll to the next page. Now I gotta read off that last sentence. If the power is off, you can manually open a cubicle from the inside, but it won't shut again. Not even you can manually open it from the outside, because your slave owner has to let you out in case they put you in there on purpose to punish you for something. No, you can open it from the inside, of course, because that's just basic safety. For slaves, in what is supposed to be a dystopia. Nonsensical. But it won't shut again. And it's like, again, nonsensical. It meant they had deployed during the incident. And we've got quotes around incident because that's a euphemism for massacre, and Martha Wells is pretending to think that euphemisms are bad, while unironically using them to downplay the horror of sexual slavery, while also, referring to these victims of sexual slavery as sex bots, which is both dehumanizing and demonizing them. I used the energy weapon in my arm again to power the first cubicle's emergency data storage. I didn't have anywhere near the energy needed to get the whole thing powered up, but the data storage box is for holding error and shutdown information if something goes wrong during a repair. There are a lot of other things you can do with it if you've hacked your governor module, like use it to temporarily store your media so the human techs won't find it. Sex System might have used it before its catastrophic failure. I'm sighing because, again, this is supposed to be a capitalist dystopia. This shit has been left down here for at least 4 years with zero maintenance, and we are pretending that the only thing wrong with it is that the batteries ran low, and that's it. Everything else is functioning perfectly, despite the entire inciting incident literally being a catastrophic computer failure. This is ridiculous. This is nonsensical. This is just shit writing. Continuing, it had been used, but by the comfort units, to download their data during the incident. Don't you mean upload their data? Again, like, what do you mean? Hold on. Like, hold on. The data storage box is for holding error and shutdown information if something goes wrong during a repair, blah blah blah, skipping over that shit. It had been used, but by the comfort units, to download their data during the incident. I think Martha Wells is using the fucking word download wrong right here, because if the comfort units are downloading their data during the incident, that would mean that they are taking things from this computer, but that's not what's going on. They're uploading shit. Like, they're uploading reports of what is going on to this computer, not downloading things. Like, that is just a blatant misuse of the fucking word. That is literally the wrong word. In a sci-fi dystopia from a woman who has grown up with the internet with a professional editor. And we're just using the completely wrong word. It was patchy and hard to put together until I realized the comfort units had been communicating with each other. I stood there for 5... Oh my lord, so lazy. I stood there for 5 hours and 23 minutes, putting the data fragments together. There had been are we going to get to see any of this? No, we just get told, that's a thing, and it took 5 hours. It's really emotional, and it's really tough. It's really tough. Not gonna, show any of this. Not like cyberspace is a thing or anything. We could be getting descriptions of how this works. We could actually get some sense of the amount of work that we're just getting told. We just gotta pretend that there's definitely effort going into this thing that we're not even going to pretend to describe. There had been a code download from another mining installation for the comfort units, supposedly a patch purchased from a third-party comfort unit supplier. The comfort units had all flagged it as non-standard and needing review by Sex System and the human systems analyst, but the techs who had downloaded it ordered them to apply it. It turned out to be well-disguised malware. It hadn't affected the comfort units, but had used their feeds to jump to Sex System and infect it. Sex System had infected the Sec units, bots, and drones, and everything capable of independent motion in the installation had lost its mind. So again, just all of the dehumanization, but then as soon as it comes time to, add some punch, we suddenly say that all of these things that we're not actually supposed to see as people, now we say, they lost their minds. Even though we're not supposed to see them as having minds or give a fuck about them at all. In between the running and shooting and the humans screaming in the background, the comfort units had managed to analyze the malware and discover it was supposed to jump from them to the hauler bots and shut them down. This would disrupt operations, so the other mining installation could get their shipment to the cargo transport first. This had been a sabotage attempt, not a mass murder. But a mass murder was what was happening. This is more capitalist bootlicking. Let me get a drink quick, but I think those of you who are actually watching all of these, or at least have critical thinking skills and understand what actual dystopias look like, I think you can figure that out for yourself. But let me get a drink. To reiterate, this is supposed to be an uber-capitalist dystopia where corporations are literally countries in and of themselves and do whatever they want and are evil. And we're supposed to think they're evil and bad. And now we get told, this wasn't actually meant to be a massacre. Somebody was just trying to do some innocent sabotage and it got out of hand. No corporation would ever actually murder dozens of people Don't look up the history of Coca-Cola. Don't look up the history of literally the term Banana Republic. Don't look up the history of sugar, tea, coffee, chocolate. Just trust that no corporations would ever want to kill innocent people. This was just a silly little sabotage so they could get their trucks to the store a few hours before these guys. It's totally innocent, and it just went wrong. Nobody was really at fault. Nobody really meant harm. The corporation just wanted to sabotage them. And this is supposed to be a capitalist dystopia. And we're literally saying, "Oh, but the massacre that happened, well, that was just a sad accident that nobody wanted that to happen. Not like corporations would never do that. You know, just like corporations should be trusted to investigate themselves and investigate people dying on their watch, because as we all know, corporations always are very truthful and always love telling the truth. So, like, literally, we are saying, actually, no, you shouldn't criticize corporations. They just wanted to do some innocent, harmless sabotage. They would never try to hurt people on purpose. Like, it is so fucking ridiculous. Yeah, like, how were they able to analyze the malware to know that that's what it was supposed to do? And not that this was, like, again, we could have been saying something about, you know, this other corporation had sent this malware specifically to cause this massacre because they were hoping that this company would get shut down and not be able to do anything so that they could take over the mine. But we're not actually criticizing any corporations at all. So instead, oh, it was just an accident. It was just a harmless little joke. Things just got out of hand. You can't blame anybody. Nobody's to blame. It wasn't on purpose. There's no commentary actually going on here or anything. This isn't even the result of, like, lax safety procedures or anything. There's literally no commentary here besides a corporation wanted to do an innocent joke on another corporation and make their trucks stop moving. Then it just accidentally, totally by accident, got a bunch of people killed. But that wasn't on purpose. They would never do that. This is not a dystopia. I'll just keep repeating that over and over again because it's true. Literally. So glad that it was fucking pointed out because, like, yeah, it's literally not a dystopia. This is toothless. This isn't criticizing anything. Because remember, the corporation left all that really expensive shit in there, including stuff that is literally still in the shipping container, in the packaging, brand new. But they made sure to take all the bodies and give them proper burials and probably gave all those poor family members pensions for life. You know, like a dystopia, like what happens in a capitalist dystopia. Not. This is not a dystopia. The humans had managed to get an alert out to the port, but it was clear help would not arrive in time. The comfort units noted that the sec units were not acting in concert and were also attacking each other, while the bots randomly smashed into anything that moved. The comfort units had decided that taking sec system back to factory default via its manual interface was their best option. Comfort units are more physically powerful than a human, but not a sec unit or bot. They had no inbuilt weapons, and while they could pick up a projectile or energy weapon and use it, they had no education modules on how the weapons worked. They could pick one up, try to aim it, pull the trigger, and hope the safety wasn't engaged. Let me get another drink, I have a headache. Sorry, pretty kitty, not trying to smack you with the microphone. You wanna purr? You wanna purr for the people? That's my cat sniffing, nuzzling the microphone. You wanna purr? He has a really quiet purr, so you probably can't hear him. I can hear you. Can you hear his purring? Probably not, but maybe. That's Alex. He's 11. Brady kitties, what are you doing? Oh, Brady kitties? Who's making noises? One by one, the file downloads had stopped. One had signaled that it would try to decoy sec unit attention away from the others, and 3 acknowledged. Also, again, like, how is all of this happening? Martha Wells used the wrong fucking word and said they are downloading their data to the computer. You mean they are uploading their computer. You could have said the computer downloaded all of their things. Download and upload are different words that mean different things depending on who is doing what and sending what where. They are uploading their reports. The computer, they're not downloading things. They're uploading. That's such a basic fucking word to get wrong. And none of this shit makes sense. One by one, the file downloads had stopped. And again, there's supposed to not be any access to, like, all of the feed and shit, right? So how exactly, like, this literally doesn't fucking make sense. Where are these file downloads coming from? Their Wi-Fi is supposed to not be working. Like, isn't that literally what's going on now? Let me click back. Yeah, yes, because literally the malware hadn't affected them, but it had used their feeds to jump to sex system and blah blah blah. So the feed is compromised. What? Okay, but I guess we're just pretending it's magically fine, because otherwise, what? Things would be difficult for the fucking characters? Whatever. This doesn't fucking make any sense. One by one, the file downloads had stopped. And also, why the fuck would this computer still be working properly if everything else is infected? Especially because we literally got told that Sex System accesses this thing, and we know that Sex System has, quote-unquote, lost its mind, even though we're not supposed to see those things as robots, because that would be silly. So, how exactly is this information getting onto this computer, and why is this computer conveniently fucking functioning? This is just shit writing. And slavery apologism, as you'll fucking see. One by one, the file downloads had stopped. One had signaled that it would try to decoy sec unit attention away from the others, and 3 acknowledged. One had heard screams from the control center and diverted there to try to save the humans, read slave owners, and their literal rapists trapped inside, and 2 acknowledged. One had stayed at the entrance to a corridor to try and buy time to reach Sex System, and 1 acknowledged. One reported reaching Sex System, then nothing. So, 1, I don't know what number we are on for the composition book of nicknames for the enslaved people in this series, but so literally this is 4 fucking people, 4 enslaved people who are literally in sexual slavery, killing themselves to protect not only their slave owners, but their literal explicit rapists. That's who they're killing themselves to protect right now. Is the next page going to, because this whole 1 signaled and blah and 3 acknowledged, the number of acknowledgements going down is meant to be implying that they are all being killed and that they are dying to save their rapists, and that they are beloved and tragic heroes for doing this, and proving that they're one of the good ones. Because the only slave that this book series and this author cares about are those who are willing to literally kill themselves to protect their masters, which makes them one of the good ones. Literally. This is 4 fucking victims of sexual slavery killing themselves to protect their masters, who are literally their rapists. Do we think the next page, because we're at 70% of the way through now, do we think the next page is going to be talking about how this is horrifying and these people lost their lives for their rapists? And they have no choice in this, by the way, because all this wants to try and frame it as they're making the beautifully selfless, tragic, beautiful choice to do this of their own free will, but they literally have no free will. They literally have no choice. This is what they are literally mind controlled and are forced to do this shit. These are slaves being forced to kill themselves to protect their masters. I hear kitty cats growling. What are you doing? Be nice to her. She's older than you. You're a good kitty. I can't say anything else or they will get summoned and then I would have to move this kitty who's on my lap. Be nice, pretty kitties. Do we think the next 30% of the book, because again, we are 70% of the fucking way through this goddamn thing. You can see the goddamn percentage down there in the lower corner. 70% of the way through the story. Do we think the remaining 30% is going to be dedicated to mourning the loss of these slaves who had literally no fucking choice but to kill themselves to protect their rapist masters? Do we think this is going to have Murderbot going after the people who made all of this shit happen and enslaved these people? Do we think this is going to be Murderbot giving a fuck about other slaves for the first time in its life? Do we think any of that's going to happen? Do we think the result of this is going to be that nobody should ever have to do this? It is horror beyond belief for any slave, but especially not slaves who are literally being raped systematically. That is literally their fucking purpose as slaves. That is why they are enslaved, to be raped. Are we going to be talking about how horrific it is for these people to have been murdered like this as human shields for their rapists? Here's a fucking spoiler alert, that's not what's going to fucking happen. Did we just go up a fucking percentage? We just went up a fucking percentage. We literally go up a percent every 2 clicks of the goddamn thing when I have the font at size 48. Jesus Christ. I caught a low power warning from my own system and realized that how long, I have to squint because the box is in the way. I think that's for how long I had been here. I unhooked myself from the cubicle and left the room. I bumped into the edge of the doorway and the wall. There must have been some off-the-books arrangement. Maybe the installation who supplied the malware paid for the damages and the bonds, which might have been such a large amount that the installation had then failed and ceased operation. Hold on, let me click text. Yeah. Again, you notice all that complete lack of emotion up there? That lack of emotion is never going to break. There's never going to be anything. There must have been some off-the-books arrangement. Maybe the installation who supplied the malware paid for the damages in the bonds, which might have been such a large amount that the installation had then failed and ceased operation. Maybe the company thought that was punishment enough. I cannot get over how much corporate bootlicking this goddamn thing is doing. How much corporate bootlicking Martha Wells is doing right now. Do you hear this? Do you hear this? I made my God. Ignoring everything else. That off-the-books arrangement. What books, Martha Wells? Because I thought you said that corporations are countries. there's no legal system binding them all together unless they literally agree to be bound. What fucking books is there to be doing shit off the books of? There is never going to be an answer because there's no fucking world building here in any way. The Corporation Rim doesn't exist. It is just whatever fucking shit that is completely nonsensical that Martha Wells says happens in this goddamn sentence. They'll totally this giant evil mega corporation that enslaves people and literally uses people as human shields. Don't worry, you have a court order when you're from a dinky, shitty backwater planet that nobody's supposed to care about. But also, they'll give you the thing that's legally fucking seen as an atomic bomb, and they'll let you bring it into public places, which is super illegal. This is just shit writing. This entire goddamn thing is completely fucking nonsensical and shittily written. No fucking care is given whatsoever. I made my way back to the tube, climbed inside, and started a recharge cycle. I got to read part of the fucking thing that Novella November is writing, and it's going to be fucking hilarious when they've actually finished writing it, assuming they publish it at some point. You're all going to be delighted and horrified, but mostly delighted. I made my way back to the tube, climbed inside, and started a recharge cycle. What's a recharge cycle, you ask? We don't know. There will never be any answer. It's just that, that's a thing that Murderbot can just do. How? We don't know. We will never be told. Murderbot, who doesn't actually have batteries, but also does have batteries, but also the batteries will run out 100,000 hours from now, but also now the batteries are almost failing because checks notes it turned on a computer for 5 hours. Somehow that trumps everything else that would not drain its batteries for over 100,000 hours, but also now that its batteries are supposedly low, even though we're not getting any time breaks saying in all capital letters performance reliability at blah and blah and blah. We're not getting any of that shit because that gets left behind in book 1 because it's a gimmick that was very cheap and extremely fucking lazy and blatantly so. We're not going to see that for a goddamn while. But Murderbot's batteries wouldn't run out until 100,000 hours from now or something like that. But now all of a sudden, turning on a computer for 5 hours, that's enough to drain him. But is this actually an emergency? Does Murderbot need to go and, I don't know, literally do anything at all that would make sense? Nope. It just goes into a recharge cycle, which it can do anywhere, by the way. Like, it's not plugging itself into the train, which is what we're referring to as a tube. It's not plugging itself into the train and taking back any of the energy that it put in those batteries. Wait, no. Did it? No, it didn't even give them it didn't give the train energy. The train just had working batteries because it's not a dystopia and it's shittily written. Murderbot's not plugging itself into this train and taking energy from those batteries or anything. It's just magically recharging itself out of thin air in some way and shape or form that doesn't make sense. But also, in book 3, we'll get told that a recharge cycle doesn't look like a human sleeping, and also it actively makes Murderbot more alert because it interrupts its attempts at sleeping or whatever. I can't remember the exact quote, but it's nonsensical. Let me get a drink. Sorry, pretty kid, I'm just smacking your ear. Literally, Murderbot, this is not a dystopia, and Murderbot is a fucking caricature of a slave existing in a caricature of a dystopia that's not actually a dystopia, because Murderbot doesn't need to eat, it doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to use the bathroom, barely needs to breathe, doesn't need clothes, doesn't need protection from the elements, can literally get shot and stabbed and probably spilled with xenomorph acid blood and just keep going. And also, its batteries will last hundreds of thousands of hours. And when those batteries do get low, hundreds of thousands hours later, it can just go into a recharge cycle. What's a recharge cycle? We will never be told. What resources is a recharge cycle using? None. What kind of environment does Murderbot need to use a recharge cycle? Literally anything. Like, she could have just made it so that it was fucking solar powered, and that if its batteries, just ambient light was constantly giving it power. She could have just done that, but no. We get this instead. A nebulous recharge cycle that magically fixes all of its battery problems and doesn't require or use up any resources, doesn't require any specific environment, nothing. Yeah, this is real quality writing, guys. And I'm being texted again. Once I had enough capacity, I went back to episode 206 of Sanctuary Moon. Do we think, show of hands, metaphorically, since you're obviously, this is not live, metaphorically, show of hands, who thinks that episode 206 of Sanctuary Moon will take on new meaning for Murderbot now that it has learned of all this shit about its backstory that we're not actually supposed to care about? Do we think it's going to actually start realizing, hey, the plot of this episode is about sex workers and, people who were kidnapped and forced into sexual slavery, which is not to equate that with sex work, because, those are two different fucking things, but, do we think that episode 206 of Sanctuary Moon is going to have any meaning for Murderbot? Or what the kind of situation it has just uncovered, apparently, that we're supposed to think is dramatic? The answer is no. Literally. We get, I went back to episode 206 of Sanctuary Moon, and then a ... for a time skip. No thoughts. No anything. Sanctuary Moon, it's not a framed story. It's not commentary in any way. It's just there to tell people you should turn your brain off and mindlessly watch TV instead of caring about other people or caring about just even thinking fascism is bad. Just turn your brain off and watch TV instead. And if you think, well, that's really random, that's because you are watching episode fucking 27 of this damn series that's been going on for multiple hours. You have no context. You chose to go the contextless way. You want the context? Restart the damn video. The fucking playlist, that is. I'm being texted again. The tube ran out of power and died short of the access, but fortunately I was back up to 97% capacity by that time. Wow, that's really convenient. Also, we literally didn't get told what percentage its fucking batteries had dropped to. We just got told I caught a low power warning from my system, but not low power enough that it's actually struggling to get anywhere and is afraid that it might not be able to get back to the train or anything like that. No. Literally, we get told that at the top of this thing, which is not even the top of a page. It's the top of Calibre with 48 size font. We don't get to tell the percentage it had dropped down to. Just that it has low power. And then conveniently it's back to 97% battery by the time the train stops. Yeah, convenient. So meaning literally zero consequences whatsoever. Oh, that's worse. Oh my gods. Oh my god, the next sentence is even worse. Here I am complaining that it's so fucking ridiculous and convenient and killing all attempts at stakes that its battery's back to 97%. Oh, but now we get, I got out and ran the rest of the way. Running isn't tiring for me the way it is for a human, but I reached the sealed access 58 minutes later than I would have on the tube. Meanwhile, people are literally coming at me and claiming, oh, Martha Wells didn't make the slaves in this story superpowered oppressed. Murderbot can literally drain its batteries somehow. Don't ask how. Like, what the fuck was that computer doing? Chugging it all into an endless void of magic? Somehow Murderbot can drain its batteries almost entirely. But then it can conveniently fucking recharge them almost to 100%. Faster than my goddamn phone. Which takes multiple hours because it's shit. And then drains itself almost immediately because it's shit. But and then it can run the entire rest of the way without that draining its batteries in any way, because running doesn't Murderbot can run around at top speed and not get tired. What fucking sense does that make? But this is a totally serious story that is deathly serious, and it's not lighthearted, and you're not supposed to think it's funny, and you're supposed to think this is serious. That's why there are literally zero physical emotion or emotional, but literally zero physical consequences for anything. The character can literally run, and it will never get tired because it's, to quote, I can't remember who, a special. So, yeah, Murderbot is literally superpowered oppressed. Not only does it not need to eat, sleep, drink, anything like that, it can also run all the time, and that will never tire it out. That somehow magically does not drain its magical ephemeral Schrodinger's batteries that only exist when we need to pretend. I don't even think this takes up half a fucking page. When we need to pretend for not even half of a goddamn page, that is literally 3 small paragraphs. When we have to pretend for 3 small paragraphs that there's actually some drama and stakes. Nope. 3 paragraphs later, 97% battery again. No long-term effects at all. It's literally gonna sprint. Then that's magically not gonna lower that percentage anymore. Wow. It had been a long, shitty cycle, and I was ready for it to be over with. I wanted to get off this mine only slightly less than I had probably wanted to get off it the first time I was here. I wanted to get off this mine only slightly less than I had probably wanted to get off it the first time I was here. That is just a really shitty sentence that is convoluted for no reason. There's so many other ways that could have been fucking phrased. I wanted to get off this mine. Hold on, kitties are meowing. You can come out here. You can literally come and sit on the couch. Come here, pretty girl. Fostering a cat who doesn't know what sofas are. She doesn't know she can sit with us and get pet. She loves being pet. Let me get her. Sabrina! Hello! Hi! Why don't you come on over? You can literally walk the rest of the way. Come sit with me. Come sit with me, cute girl. Aww, you're all nuzzling at each other. You guys are such cuties. You wanna come sit with me? Yeah, you are so adorable. Look at you. You guys are so cute. So cute. Hello. This little cutie, I can't even call you a baby. You're 5 years old. You're just tiny. You're so small. You want to come on over here? You want to come here? Come sit on the couch. You were doing this. You figured this out yesterday. Come on. I can't even call her a baby. She's literally smaller than Mr. Lupin, but according to the vets, she's 5 years old. She's at least 5 years old. She might be older than that. Come here, you. You want to come purr for the people? You want to come purr? Oh, hi, Polychrome. I know you will. You want to purr? Or meow? Meow. That's not a Polychrome sniffing the microphone very loudly. Come here. You want to talk for the camera? Yay! Aw, you guys want to meow? Anybody want to talk? Besides clawing the cardboard? Anybody want to say hi? Nope, they're all just going to be silent now. Hey! Stop clawing that. We have an entire scratching tower for you. Do that again, Miss Serena. That was adorable. Come on, meow for the people. Say meow. She's nuzzling it. You might be able to hear her purr. Hello, can you meow? Say hi. All right. She doesn't want to. Nobody wants to say hi. She just wants to get her claws stuck in my shirt. Aw, you lay down. You are so adorable. This cat is so fucking small. I don't know what dwarfism looks like in cats, but like she's short, like leg-wise. She's short body-wise. Her tail is like a third the length of other cats, and apparently she's over 5 years old. Anyways, yeah, no stakes going on at all. No, there's literally no okay, the thing writers that are really bad at writing don't grasp is that if your character is never allowed to lose, and losing can mean lots of things, if there are never any consequences for your character, if you say, tell us your robot character that you want us to see as a robot, even though you are literally the one who will then tell us it's a fucking cyborg, just because you hate physically disabled people, when you could literally have just made it an actual robot. If you literally tell us, oh, my character, that they got low battery, and then not even a full half a page later, 3 short paragraphs later, the batteries are filled again and the character's running, which you make sure to assure us isn't going to make that battery drop again. The only thing you are accomplishing is telling people, that was so cute. Thank you. You guys are so cute. Oh, you don't gotta hiss. She's nuzzling you. Also, for the record, when cats hiss at each other, it doesn't mean they're angry. That's just saying, hey, I'm kind of nervous. You want a meow? Want a meow? Nope, just absolute silence from the kitties. Anyways, this is called shit writing. This is called writing that is literally guaranteed to make people just unable to care. What? You guys are being so silly right now. It's okay. They're nuzzling each other, then hissing at each other, then nuzzling each other. You guys are silly. You guys are silly. You're silly. Yeah, don't actually sit on that cloth. We need that to not have cat fur on it. Anyways, this is literally how this, like, you're just priming your audience never to invest anything in your writing, because there's no reason to be even tense for 5 seconds, because literally, before the goddamn page is over, 90% of the time, whatever Martha Wells is telling you to feel tense about and telling you is dramatic, it's probably going to be fixed before the fucking page is over. And if it's not fixed before the page is over, it will probably be fixed before 5 pages pass. No, there are no consequences for anything. It had been a long, shitty cycle, and I was ready for it to be over with. I wanted to get off this mine only slightly less than I had probably wanted to get off it the first time I was here. Now I have to get a drink again. I had gotten back through the security barrier and was walking up the tunnel when I came within range of the feed again. I tapped Art to let it know I was back. Hey, like, remember when Murderbot first walked in here and the Wi-Fi, which is what the feed means, the Wi-Fi abruptly cut out after, like, a single step, and then instead of just backing up literally one step to say, hey, there's no Wi-Fi down here, just so you know, I'm not dead or anything, but, like, I'm just going out of Wi-Fi range, so I won't be able to text you. But, like, if I'm not back in, say, 48 hours or something, you can assume I'm dead, or, I don't know, there's a problem. Remember how it didn't do any of that? For some fucking reason that doesn't make sense. Anyways, let's continue. It said, we have a problem. Oh, now we're on chapter 7. Chapter 7 of 9, and yeah, Martha Wells is an extra-sexist bigot. She is a cis extra-sexist transmissive bigot. She hates trans people. Especially she hates non-binary people. She is tokenizing non-binary people. As you may remember, if this is not the first video you're clicking on, Martha Wells introduced us to 3 new characters in this book. Calling it a book is kind of an insult to books. Martha Wells introduced us to 3 new characters at the start of this short story. 2 were women, 1 was non-binary. The 2 women, one was non-binary and used the neopronouns, T, ter self pronouns, instead of her, she, her, he, him, etc. 2 of those 3 characters have left the story and will never, ever, ever, ever return. Ever. This is book 2. This is story 2. There are 13 stories in this series. 2 of the characters who were introduced in this one, 2 women and 1 non-binary person who uses neopronouns, were introduced. 2 of those characters have left forever. 1 of them is coming back for the remaining, 29% remaining of the story. And it's one of the women. Not the non-binary person who uses neopronouns, the other non-binary person that Murderbot, our non-binary protagonist, could have a chance to bond with, maybe discuss gender and pronouns with. Nope, it's just the cis woman. Because Martha Wells is tokenizing us non-binary people. She doesn't actually give a fuck about us. She's literally just queerbaiting. The definition of queerbaiting. Literally the same reason that, Murderbot is always in armor on the cover art, despite her saying in interviews, it's got dark skin, it's a black person for sure, but nope. It's diversity baiting, it's queer baiting. You want to meow again? We gotta teach you to talk. Speak. Nope. Ouch, your little claws are sharp, but you're so cute. You're so small. Alright, I don't think you can hear her purring, but if you hear noises knocking against the microphone, she's nuzzling it with her head. Like that. She just nuzzled it. This would be so easy to fix so that the non-binary character is not literally just blatantly tokenized. It's okay. Your foot, your claw, stuck in my shirt. So I take my fingers and I get your little foot unstuck. See? She doesn't like having her feet touched, but it's like, if you're going to keep sticking your claws in people's clothing and getting them stuck, you gotta figure that out. She's slowly figuring it out, but she just looks so suspicious when you poke her paws. It's like, you are the one getting yourself into this mess, silly kitty. Anyways, the solution. None of these characters have personalities. Martha Wells could literally have effortlessly made this character here, Tapan, instead be Rami, the non-binary person who uses neopronouns. But she didn't do that because Martha Wells is a cis bigot who very specifically wants to keep getting money from conservative bigots like her. So she'll have a non-binary person just long enough so that non-binary people in the real world who are desperate for fucking anything at all will cling on and say, okay, she does care about me. There's bare minimum fucking tokenization. And then she immediately shoves that character off screen, never to be seen again, so that the bigots think that, you know, as she does, that she agrees with them, that non-binary people are ridiculous. Literally 90% of the people reading the series do not actually grasp that Murderbot is non-binary, because it's framed as a fucking robot who literally doesn't have genitals. They literally all see it as, you know, a random fucking dude with he, him pronouns and a cis man. Because along with being ex or sexist, they're all misogynists who think that women can't be funny or snarky, along with not thinking non-binary people exist at all. Anyways, the solution for this bullshit is so simple that literally go on. No, I can't remember the URL. I literally rewrote the last 3 chapters of this goddamn story and just Control F replaced Tapan with Rami and her pronouns with T-ter, so that Rami is the fucking character that exists for the rest of this shit using neo pronouns instead of literally being shoved off screen never to be seen again. Anyways, let's continue this fucking train wreck of tokenization and stereotyping. Chapter 7. I located the problem in the lobby of the main hotel. Tapan was on one of the upper platforms, seated on a round cushioned bench, her pack at her feet, partially screened by another holographic sculpture of a giant crystal formation. She looked up at me and said, "Oh, hi. I didn't know if the others would be able to reach you." Without me present in the shuttle, Art hadn't had any visual access to the passenger compartment. As a private vehicle that was only being used as a public transport in a sketchy, if not openly illegal way, it had no onboard security system or cameras. Art hadn't known Tapan wasn't aboard until the shuttle reached the transit ring. Taking its responsibility seriously, that is such an infantilizing thing to say, I really gotta fucking say. That is so fucking infantilizing. Taking its responsibility seriously, Martha Wells says, like Art is a fucking toddler who has been told to, I don't know, be the ring bearer. Like, that's an infantilizing statement. Taking its responsibility seriously, it had sent a drone over to the embarkation area to watch my clients disembark and had seen an obviously distraught and angry Rami and Morrow, but no Tapan. Then it had checked Eden's profile on the social media feed and found the message from Rami. Tapan had told them she was sick and was going to the shuttle's restroom compartment. They hadn't realized what had happened until the shuttle had cleared the port. Rami is the fucking non-binary character who uses neopronouns who literally never appears on screen ever again. I said, "They left me a message." I had intended to just stand there and stare at her, which is what sec units do to clients. And again, especially, I mean probably for the first time if this is the first video you're watching, whenever Martha Wells says clients, that explicitly means slave owners. Murderbot, in this story, book 2, these people are not aware that Murderbot is an attemptedly escaping slave. They think that they have actually hired a real person that views itself as an equal to them. But on Murderbot's end, it very literally explicitly views them as its slave owners, to everyone's detriment. And every time Martha Wells says the word clients, she means slave owners. That's another euphemism, even though she wants to pretend to criticize corporations for using euphemisms. She does it unironically to uphold her own slavery apologism. Which is what sec units do to clients who have just performed an act of stupidity so profound it approaches suicide, which they ordered us not to stop them from doing. And that's another joke. That's supposed to be funny. I'll read that again. I said they left me a message. I had intended to just stand there and stare at her, which is what sec units do to clients who have just performed an act of stupidity so profound it approaches suicide, which they have ordered us not to stop them from doing. That's supposed to be hilarious. I know. She came to sit with me. She's looking at you. That's supposed to be really fucking funny. But she looked like she knew she had been stupid, and I had to know. What happened? She looked up at me, clearly anticipating a negative reaction. I got a note in my feed through the social profile I had when we were working here. Someone working for Tlacy, a friend, said he had copies of the files and he'd give them to us. She forwarded the message to my feed. I checked it carefully. The meeting was set for the next cycle. I felt this would be the point where a human would sigh, so I sighed. That's supposed to be funny as well. There's 2 jokes in these, how many paragraphs? 4 fucking paragraphs. No actual physical or emotional consequences from anything that just happened, even though we're supposed to pretend that was so serious and spooky and scary. They just meow at each other, and then they nuzzle each other, and then they hiss at each other, and then they nuzzle each other.
And she was like looking at me like, ooh.
Tapan said, I know it could be a trap, but maybe it isn't. I know him. He's not the greatest guy, but he hates Tlacy. She hesitated. Will you help me, please? I'll understand if you say no. I know this could be a really bad idea. I had forgotten that I had a choice, that I wasn't obligated to do what she wanted just because she was here. Being asked to stay, with a please and an option for refusal, hit me almost as hard as a human asking for my opinion and actually listening to me. I don't know if you can hear the cats making loud paper noises on the other side of the room, but they are. I sighed again. I was having a lot of opportunities to do it, and I think I was getting good at it. I'll help you. Right now we need to find a place to get out of sight. So, again, we literally explicitly state that Murderbot has forgotten that these people are not actually its masters. It doesn't actually have to follow their orders. It doesn't actually have to throw its life away to protect them for their shitty goddamn data for their fucking research data that they literally got paid to do on another company's time. Martha Wells and her stands will want to convince you that these people in this story are poor people, just like you and me. They are literally rich academics who literally got paid to do their own research on another company's time. That's not poor. They don't work in the mines. They work for the fucking research and development, and they got paid to do literally anything they wanted, explicitly. That's not poor people. That's more rich people. And we get another ... to end the scene and do a time skip. It's okay, he's just hopping around. Little baby is hyper and playful. This cutie's not enthused. He's just on the floor. You're on the couch. It's chill. Tapan had a hard currency card from the transit ring, which wasn't tied to any Ravi High-Ral account, and so was not traceable. At least that's what she thought, and I hoped she was right. I had never been given any education modules on financial systems, and since our modules were crap anyway, I'm not sure that would have helped. Art ran a search for me, and the results were mixed. Hard currency cards could be traced, but usually only by non-corporate, political, or corporate entities. Wow! What a fucking statement of nothing. Oh my god.
Hard currency cards, which is an oxymoron.
Literally.
We're not gonna
We don't acknowledge the oxymoron of a hard currency card.
As opposed to a soft currency.
As opposed to soft currency. Yeah, credit card, that's real. That's the same thing as being paid in cash. No, that's literally not. So hard currency cards can be traced, But only, no, that's not even where the sentence ended. They can be traced, but only by non-corporate, political, or corporate entities.
So
literally everybody. Because you are either the fucking employee of a corporation, which is a goddamn country. This is literally saying, yeah, money can be traced, but only by only by people in countries and people in countries.
people
What the
in
fuck?
states
Which is also a
countries.
literal country.
and republics.
Like this is a
Nothing.
like this is literally saying nothing. Yes, you can trace these things, but only non-corporate political or corporate entities, meaning everybody, because you are either working for a corporate country or you work for a non-corporate country, but that literally includes everybody. That is that's everybody. Yeah, you can currency cards can only be traced by everybody. So
This is what happens when you examine. This is what happens when you examine these books on a line-to-line level with your brain actually thinking about what you're reading.
she literally misused the word download.
How?
Because she was saying that the sex slaves, she was saying that they were downloading their data to a computer. Meaning they were uploading their fucking data. But she said download. And not one single person, even though this is traditionally published with a fancy, apparently famous editor putting his name on it. No, he's won awards. Lee Harris, as an editor, has won awards. What awards? The fucking Hugo? The Nebula? Things that we literally know are completely fucking useless now? Literally. Hard currency cards could be traced, but usually only by non-corporate, political, or corporate entities. And again, the corporate speak, unironically. She's saying non-corporate political entity. She just means a country that's not run by a corporation. But instead of just saying anything else. But what?
They all might as well be run by corporations because what exactly is the difference?
Who elected Mensa? Who elected Mensa?
What was her campaign?
What was Mensa's fucking campaign platform? What did she oversee while she was president of the entire fucking planet? Anyways. Oh yeah, this thing can only be blawed, but only by everybody and everybody else. I decided it was probably alright to use it. If the message wasn't a trap, Talisi might think my clients were back on the transit ring by now. If it was a trap, they would know they could grab us when we walked into the meeting, so there was no point in looking for us earlier. None of this shit is worth any of this. They're not even researching like a cure for fucking cancer or anything. They were researching, and again, I cannot stress enough, they literally got paid to do this shit on another company's time. They got paid to do whatever they wanted. They're not researching the cure for cancer, as one very confused person was confused. They're also not researching like what made everybody go crazy in that incident that Martha Wells wants to pretend she's mad about the euphemism, while unironically using so many fucking euphemisms. They're not researching anything that's important and will save lives and is worth any risk at all. They're researching to figure out ways to maybe be able to detect xenomorph goop. That's it.
A little bit more efficiently.
That's it. This isn't where Murderbot's not even getting paid.
Does xenomorph goop serve in this setting?
It doesn't.
Why exactly is everybody after it? What is the reason that the people in book 1 were off screen, completely and utterly off screen, apparently looking for xenomorph goop? What purpose does it serve? What profit do they gain from it? Who is the one buying xenomorph goo that these people are selling to for profit?
Literally. There are no answers because
What are you doing?
there's no effort in this at all. It's bad writing through and through. It's bad, lazy, cheap writing that wants to sell itself for an arm and a leg.
Your arm and a leg in particular.
Yeah, literally. So again, we just got told one Calibre page ago, not even a full page in the actual physical book, Murderbot literally forgot that these people are not actually its slave owners, and it is actually allowed to just not continue risking itself for them. It's not even getting paid well. Like, it's ridiculous. So now we're saying, yeah, if the message wasn't a trap, the bad guy would probably think that they were gone. But if it was a trap, they would know they could get us when we went to the meeting, so there was no point in them coming after us now. That's the logic that we're going with. That's not logic. That's just saying shit. So the people explicitly who have no goal other than murdering you, which doesn't even make sense. Well, they said they were going to murder us at this time. So they aren't going to try and murder us now. Tapan used the card to pay for a transient room in the block next to the port. While she ran the card through the vending kiosk and got our room assignment, I stood behind her and surveyed the area. The transient rooms were in a narrow warren of corridors, as unlike the main hotel as a real cargo transport was unlike art. Because you see, art is also one of the good ones. And also, art can talk in proper English. All due hatred and disrespect on those words. Art can talk in proper English, unlike other living ships. So that makes art a person, and the rest of them are not people, and we shouldn't give a fuck about them at all. And also, we should be horrified by the thought of art falling in love with one. They can't talk real English, so that makes them not people. There is no intentionality going on here at all. You're not supposed to question who the fuck is exactly responsible for not letting these other living ships have fucking speakers or access to the Wi-Fi with which to communicate. Nope, just accept it. Art is biologically and mechanically superior to them all by virtue of having good genes. It's more of a person than them because it can speak out loud in proper English, as opposed to the other people who have been literally denied voices. No commentary on ableism or racism going on whatsoever. There was no sex system to get control of, and only one camera at the entrance. I deleted us out of its memory, but I still felt like we, or I, might have been observed at some point. It might just be inherent rogue sec unit on the run paranoia.
So another robot just has memory deleted by a Murderbot casually?
This is just an actual camera. Which we can probably safely assume are not people, but there's literally no reason to assume that things like sex system and hub system and med system, we have been given no reason not to assume that they are people, besides the fact that Martha Wells hates people who aren't like her. Is there actual food, or where'd it go? I'll stop talking to eat. Okay. I'm eating lunch at 11 p.m. Alright. Bye-bye.